Fantastic. Well, thanks, Tim and Giles, for joining me today. It's a great pleasure to meet you both. And look, you've been attached to Elite for quite some time, knowing obviously John's past history and probably worked together. But let's jump straight into that and sort of get to know who you guys are, what your backgrounds are, and give us a little bit of an overview of what your roles and responsibilities are within Squadrato, please, if you don't mind. So who wants to kick off? Tim?
Yeah, why not? Thanks, Adam. Well, I've worked in the recruitment industry staffing sector for 25 odd years. I'm the founder of Squadrato, and my experience has been with working in a number of large recruiters that have gone through a big growth phase organically as well as through acquisition. I've also had the privilege of sitting on the board of the REC as well, so having some view of other sectors. My principal background is in the tech, digital sector, and I think as part of that, I was struck by how many recruiters, and the UK is a bastion of the recruitment industry globally, often find themselves struggling to mature the relationships they have with customers, mature their business models in describing what they're doing for customers. And so what we want Squadrato to do, and what Squadrato does, is help those organisations, ambitious SME recruiters, make the next step in growth, turning their attention away from focusing on transactional revenues to being able to talk to their customers about annuity revenue solutions like recruitment process outsourcing, talent as a service, embedded recruitment, MSP, whatever the acronym you want to use, SOW, for example, but services that talk to the customer about not just about putting a bum on the seat, but how that bum gets there and owning some of that process. So that's a little bit about me. Giles?
Well, as you can see, I'm a lot older than Tim, and I've been in the recruitment sector for an awful lot longer than that. But Tim and I met it's about 10 years ago this month, actually, in an organisation called Rethink that was very much on the journey of going from being a very good transactional recruiter in change and technology, but had some burgeoning relationships with customers that you could describe as being annuity-based services, longer agreements, much more detailed in terms of what was being provided, with recruitment still at its core. And the task over the next number of years was to turn that capability into, I suppose, the greater proportion of revenues coming into the organisation were through these types of services. So sort of fast forwarding 10 years and getting all of that experience of being a recruiter and knowing what the challenges are of doing transactional recruitment from back in the day all the way through to, there are a lot of the challenges today are still the same as they ever were, candidate shortage, mass demand, all those sorts of things. But taking the experience of taking an organisation that wanted to do more of these, build more of this capability, the chance to do that with Tim, but to work with organisations in all sorts of different sectors who were facing very similar challenges about wanting to grow, mature, but didn't quite know what the path was, didn't quite know what the steps were, didn't know quite how to communicate it or how to start to have the conversation with the customer. And once they do that, so then what happens? So, having, for the last, 2.5, 3 years, worked with organisations across all sorts of different sectors, from real estate and property recruitment, finance, engineering, construction, tech as well. It's hugely rewarding to see the way these organisations have grasped these principles and actually gone and won some really interesting pieces of work that, a year ago, 2 years ago, they just wouldn't have even dreamt of being able to do. Yeah, so because we've got quite complementary skills as well, we've both been in the situation together and separately where we've sold these kinds of services, then we've set them up. But then we've also got the scars and the bruises about from what comes from running them, and some interesting stories there are too. So that's in a nutshell why we're doing what we're doing, and it's greatly rewarding, but it's fun too, because it's a great time. It's always a great time to be thinking about doing these kinds of things.
Yeah, so typically, give me some examples, guys. Thank you for that. So I think, you know, timing is really at the moment where a recruiter needs some advice and some help and some strategy. Just give me some examples of what works. What's your approach? Is it mainly on referral that you get your business, or is it through success? You know, how does it generally work?
Well, I think probably a good example of this is an elite member, and the reason it comes to mind is they've just posted something on LinkedIn, which is actually a video that they're posting to looking to attract more staff to the business, and it struck us that they were talking about the last 12 months and where they've come from in the last 12 months. So that business we were introduced to, they were an elite member. They reached out to us because at the turn of in late 2020 they wanted to develop a statement of work business, and we helped them organize their thinking about what they needed to do to be able to communicate that to their clients, and also some of the things they would need internally. So a bit of a roadmap about these are the steps that you probably need to go through, but the first step being this is how you need to talk to your customers about it. This is why a customer might want to buy it. This is what the customer is buying. These are the problems you're looking to solve. We started that conversation, but very quickly we got into a conversation about their best customer, some of their best customers, which is always a starting point for us when we're talking to a recruiter. Talk to us about your best customer relationships, either by volume, etc. And I'll let Giles pick up the story from there. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a couple of challenges that the customer had, but the principal one, they were effectively saying, we've got some significant growth that we need to achieve now, significant growth, and we're not sure quite how we're going to achieve that. We don't know quite how we're going to hire, I think it was, pick a number, 100 heads over the course of 6 months, something like that, in a very niche technology skill set and set of capabilities, and in New York. So how we're based in the UK, but we're obviously making good progress with this customer overseas. So what do we do? How do we do that? What can we go to them with? What kind of solution can we put together? So I suppose we roll on to 4 months later, and after Tim and I had helped them shape what the solution would look like and how it would address that problem. But not only that, how it then looked longer term, how the organization got the safety net of having not just being a one-shot task to complete, but actually here's something that looks a bit longer term, looks a bit more macro, even though there's very micro challenge there, that actually helped the customer mature what they were doing. Mm. And the recruitment solution sort of was formed, we helped them communicate it. We coached a little bit in the background how they go through delivering the proposition, and that, you know, landed a slight hiatus where they tried to, well, we might shape it this way, we might shape it that way, but ultimately they came back and then said, do you know what you said? We want to do that. We want to go ahead and buy that. And it's been fabulously rewarding for them, not least as a proof point to tell them, do you know what, we can talk to lots of other people about doing this. But it helped them, the recruitment organizations aspiring to be in the States in their sector, with a brilliant case study, and hence they're in the position they've grown to.
We help them through the phases of pricing it. We help them through the phases of contracting it. We help them through the phases of building it. We help them through the phases of organising their internal consultants, who now have a different job compared to what they had before, which is more attractive to them. we help them through the pains of, for example, the first monthly review. We help them through the setup of that. And we've been on the end of the phone to deal with bumps in the road that we talk to them about they might come up with in the next 6 months.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Yeah, look, that's a great example, and I'm sure the person and company that you're talking about have been very appreciative of the journey that you've taken them on. And just look at the results. You know, the results do speak for themselves, don't they? So, and if people are posting about things that you implemented 12 months ago, then that's a fantastic story to tell. And I'm sure
they'd never sold an RPO or recruitment service or anything like that 12 months ago. They've not done any of that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot on people's agenda. Like you say, a lot of people put on their websites that they have the RPO or try to sort of make themselves look bigger. But do they get found out, or is it just again a marketing gimmick that we all like to do to try and sort of make ourselves much more sustainable and approachable for building that trust with clients that everybody's looking for? So thank you for that. That's a fantastic success story, and really appreciate the honesty and the feedback that you've given there. So why Elite? What is it about Elite that you guys like? What is it that you can share with the groups that and perhaps others that are looking to perhaps look at an advisory as a body? What would you say was Elite's best features and attracts you as a sort of preferred supplier to come into that as a partner with us?
I think in principle it is very much feels like a sharing community of the right level of individual owners and those that are very much have the keys and can make the decisions about how the organizations move forward, consider best practice, collaborate on ideas. It's just the kind of world and environment and language that's been receptive to the things that we've said, I think, and not just from our perspective, because clearly there are many other providers that are a similar way, looking for owners within businesses who want to make change. It's very rarely a sort of I'm just involved in Elite just to kind of as a check and balance. There does seem to be very much an embrace of, look, there is nobody I've ever sat with, listened to or talked to, and I'm very much in this boat, in my opinion, knows everything. Yes, we might be a bit long in the tooth, and we've seen this sort of market in the past, but none of us could have predicted the last 2 years at all. None of us could have predicted that the whole landscape of the way we work has changed again. No doubt there'll be something else that will come along soon. So I think the fact that Elite adapted how they worked during the pandemic, and it became even more high touch, I think, than it was previously. Certainly, I think from our perspective, and certainly personally speaking, very much at the initial stages of when we were doing what we were, it was so useful and supportive. And I think as we've gone on, it's kind of just continued to reiterate our thoughts that what we do has got very much a place in the thinking that organisations need to apply. But it strikes me as a very collaborative forum, and it is because it's not 50,000 members or 10,000 members, or it's very much you're getting some real quality. I think conversations going on.
I think it's just to pick up on Giles's point there. It's there's many networking groups, professional groups out there, and they've all got their plus points. They've all got things that they do very well. I think the differentiator with Elite is, it is much more high touch, and it's not necessarily telling people anything different from what other advisors might be saying about what you need to do, but I think it's about how they then engage about how you can do it. So not just here is a template, here is a way of doing it. The consulting element of it, the management consulting element of it, of really understanding what it can mean for your business and developing it for what the specific business, for the specific needs of the members. what they're looking to achieve. So it's that high touch consulting side of things that I think is different about Elite.
Yeah, no, thank you, Tim and Giles. And again, I echo that. And again, I have experienced that myself from sitting on many of the sessions and many of the guest speakers that we have. And I think the guest speakers, I think, are second to none, by the way, in terms of takeaways that most of our members take away from those particular inputs and sessions. And we make it topical and relevant because we are going through massive economic and cultural changes across all of our working environments and lives that have never experienced before. So we all need to learn again, and everybody is looking after each other through that particular coming out on the other side, let's say. So look, we're going to wrap it up fairly soon, but it's been a fantastic session and a really good in-depth conversation. But if someone was to be interested or wanted to get in touch with you, what is the best way? You know, obviously you guys are on LinkedIn, but you know, how is the best way to approach you, and what would you say or suggest to the member if they're looking at your type of offerings and services? Just give me again a recap and a review of all of the things that you can do, so then if somebody is interested, they can just get in touch directly.
Yeah,
and then I think, you know,
all of obviously we've got all of our details are on the Elite Leaders website and at squadrato.uk if you want to reach out and get in touch with us. But it all starts with a conversation, and no holds barred, free, gratis, having a bit of a chin wag, probably on and off. I think it ends up being for about 2 or 3 hours in the end, of understanding a little bit about what the challenge is within the business at the moment, and a little bit about the business. And then none of our engagements they have a similar jumping off point, but they're not all the same. So what we tend to do, and typically we will do, is listen, understand what the challenges are, and then create a proposal to kick off a relationship. But it all starts with having a conversation. If you're interested in growing the value in the business, not just the revenue in the business, and you want to retain your staff, and you want to retain your customers, and you want to protect them from the competition, then let's have a conversation, because there's a way in which we can show you how to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. That's really useful. Giles, anything else to add? The
only thing I'd add is as well, that whilst you're right, I think your observation, Adam, you know, there's a lot of organizations that are putting these types of services on websites that are just saying, yes, we offer this. And I think whether it's, regardless of the motives, or whether it is, you know, there is actually some substance behind, genuinely, these services are not onerous and complex, not time consuming to put together, but will add significant value, not just to the organization, but to the people in the organization and to the customers. And they are sustainable long term. So it doesn't need to be just a facade, because, you know, a lot of the market demand at the moment from the customer side is the need for better partnerships. So if it's even if it's we're not sure whether we're the right size of business to do this, we don't know whether we've got the right kind of customers, or we're in the right sector, even if then, you know, somebody's not sure, we'll happily explain what it is, how it can be, and if it works, and if it's relevant. Some people we've talked to decided, you know, the market's too busy at the moment for us to think about anything else. We just want to do what's here in front of us. That's fine too. But we'd urge, as our sort of experience that says, don't leave it off the table. It can be something you do as well as. It can be, you know, you need a blended way of holding on to your customers over the course of the next 2 years, 3 years. So you know, don't ignore it, and don't just pay lip service to it, because it can be so hugely beneficial and rewarding. So that would be my only addition.
No, fantastic, guys. Look, well done. Really good insight. Really great to get to know you a little bit better. Hopefully the members can see the true value of what you bring, and hopefully you found this very useful today. So thanks again. Really appreciated your time. And look, I hope to meet in face to face and have a well-earned beer. That'll
be nice. That would
And
be nice.
I'll get the
Yeah.
first round in. How about that? So
Well, that's,
the beers
that's
are the
recorded
beers are
now.
on me.
That's recorded.
That is definitely recorded. Down as well.
So guys, look, thanks for that.